How's going guys, welcome to the channel. In this video we are gonna see, what if Naruto fell in love with Hachishaku-sama? Part 1. Huge shout out to Arashi Uchiha for this story. If you wants to see awesome fanfiction like this, don't forget to subscribe. Now let's get into the video. 15 years later in Fire Country. On the night of the QB attack was a priest shrine temple that held lots of treasures, historical data, scrolls, you name it. On that fateful night, earthquakes were rumbling from Konoha, the Leaf Village, to the capital of Fire Country. The QB was attacking the Leaf Village, as its shinobi were trying to defend it. Inside the temple various objects were shaking due to the earthquakes, as some stuff fell off shelves like pots, vases and small statues. The temple was looking a mess as paintings fell down with scrolls falling off the bookcase. Only thing that was still standing was a pedestal that was holding something on top of it, and what was it holding was a 30-inch Jizo seal statue, as you could see, writing with a warning by saying, "Don't touch. Very dangerous entity sealed inside." Now what was so dangerous about this Jizo seal statue? And what was it containing? With one more earthquake the pedestal tilted and with a slow motion, the Jizo seal statue fell off and fell onto the ground, broken in half. Once the statue fell apart, a rather tall shadowed figure manifested itself out the broken statue, looming over its broken prison. "Po po 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 po," chanted a masculine voice the shadowed being was doing as it smiled creepily, stretching out its long arms and long slender legs as it began to spoke. "I am free. I am free from the confines of that accused prison those monks sealed me in," the shadowed figure said in a female voice as she looked around her surroundings. Seeing that she was in a temple of some sort by the looks of it, she grinned coldly, turning to her direction. She sensed a lot of yokai chakra. And it was coming from Konoha. For 50 years she had been sealed away during the Second Shinobi War. And now that yokai chakra was attracting her. She needed it because the Jizo seal held her in for so long that she was getting thirsty for yokai power. She walked up towards a wall and punched it, making a big hole as she floated in the air, taking to the dark sky. As she flew to where Konoha was, her dark blue eyes saw a giant fox destroying a village. She grinned, sensing its anger, its rage. Its magnificent amount of yokai chakra. She was on her way to that giant fox and tried to absorb some of its chakra to replenish her stamina and power. Outskirts of Konoha. The spirit made her way to her destination, following the fox as she floated up in the air, watching as she widened her eyes, seeing a red-haired woman using gold chains to restrain the fox. The woman tilted her head, watching with interest as her eyes widened more, seeing a blonde man in a coat with flames perform a sealing jutsu, but what shocked her more was she saw the Shinigami help the blonde man seal away the fox before he and the red-haired woman were impaled by the fox's claw. From what she saw was that these two were protecting a baby boy. And wondered why the fox went so low to try and kill the child, as it was sealed up by the child. Before the Shinigami could leave, he cast a glance at the 8-foot-tall woman as she looked back at him unfazed. As the Shinigami finally vanished away, he was aware of what the 8-feet-tall woman was and knew of her history. As he regarding what she did years ago, he said nothing and just vanished, leaving her alone. She fed after seeing him and focused her attention on the newborn baby boy. Crying, she reached out her long arms, picking him up, looking at him, seeing he had whisker marks on his face and baby fat on his cheeks. Looking at the child, she felt the little baby glow red, leaking red chakra as it seeped inside her. She widened her eyes, feeling her strength and ghost physical form increase. She put him down by his dead parents, feeling a tingling sensation from the touch in the chakra while she creepily grinned. "You will do, Naruto Uzumaki," she spoke gently as she reached her arms out to grab him, only to stop hearing voices and someone coming. She hid in the bushes. She saw old man in battle armor with two leaf shinobi. As she saw the old man pick up Naruto, coming to Kushina Uzumaki, who was half alive, that didn't go unnoticed by the 8-foot-tall woman. She listened to Kushina saying that her son's name was Naruto Uzumaki towards the Tsunade as the 8-foot-tall woman watched, seeing him and the shinobi carry Naruto and the dead bodies of Kushina Uzumaki and Minato Namikaze. 12 years and 12 years I will be back for you, Naruto-kun. It's time I adjust to this new era and see what has changed during my imprisonment, and maybe I could learn a few things like jutsu and much more. He will be an exception. As for the other children, they will be dead to me," she said before floating up in the sky. "The Hachishaku-sama is back, elemental nations," Hachishaku-sama said before vanishing away, not to be seen. Time skip 12 years later. In Fire Country motel room was a blonde boy in an orange jumpsuit who was grumbling and frowning, looking annoyed. "Of course that perverted sage would leave me here instead of training me. But he's so busy doing his research. What's the point in going on this 3-year training trip if he's going to be doing this?" said Naruto, looking annoyed at the fact his sensei Jiraiya of the Sannin was probably peeping in bathhouses or at hot springs, peeping at women, when he should be training him some super cool new jutsu, since his other sensei Kakashi never taught him much but teamwork and tree climbing. Well, Sasuke learned more than he did, envious of Sasuke. Naruto was he though he was glad that he left the village. He hated seeing those glares and all those mobs who tried killing him when he was younger. The orange-clad genin laid on the bed sighing in frustration as a knock appeared on the door. He instantly got up looking irritated. "So you got caught, didn't you? I knew it. Now come on and train me. Pervy sage." Naruto exclaimed as the door was knocked harder. Open the door, Naruto. "I lost my key," spoke Jiraiya, making the blonde frown deeper, having an annoyed look. Alright, enough with the knocking," Naruto said, walking to the door, opening it only to widen his eyes in shock. He froze. He was expecting Jiraiya, but not expecting to see a 8-foot-tall woman wearing a white morning dress and a big white sun hat looking at him with a gentle expression, but he also stared at her big breasts, that's so huge and fully developed, much larger than Tsunade's. She had long black hair reaching to her curvy hips. He rubbed his eyes, hoping he wasn't seeing things or was in a game jutsu. "She's huge," was his only thought. Come to me, Naruto-kun," she spoke softly, reaching her arms to grab him and vanished, taking him with her, only leaving his Konoha shinobi headband behind. 2.5 hours later. Jiraiya returns, coming to motel with a perverted grin and a few large bumps on his head. "Oigaki. I'm back, are you ready to train now?" spoke Jiraiya as he made it to his room, but froze and gasped, seeing that his room was left opened and he saw Naruto's headband on the floor. "Oh my kami," he yelled, rushing forward, getting the headband. No. My kami, why did I leave him alone? The Akatsuki couldn't have followed our tracks. I have to find him. And fast," he said with horror, running out the motel fast as guy. "My kami. Tsunade is going to kill me." "Take it easy, Jiraiya, you can find the gaki." He couldn't have gotten that far, thought Jiraiya as he prayed and hoped he could find Naruto. For half week it has been since Naruto's disappearance. Jiraiya had looked all over Fire Country trying to find him, but yet no luck. The Toad Sannin was worried and scared of his life, of what Tsunade would do to him if she finds out Naruto was missing or presumably captured. "Oh my kami, still no trace of him. I'm going to die. Tsunade will kill me if she finds out, and if I die then Minato and Kushina will kill me in the afterlife," he said, feeling nervous, smacking his forehead. Just what was he thinking? Leaving Naruto alone like that? He should have trained him first, then go peep to work on his research. This is bad. I have to find him. How could he have vanished? He thought, walking into a building to ask anyone have they seen Naruto. Before he could ask the clerk, he looked over at a wall, seeing something that caught his attention. He saw various missing posters of children who were abducted and taken away. He walked towards the wall, looking from each missing poster of a child. Fire Country had some sort of child kidnapper or something. Because if that was the case, then what is this? Jiraiya asked as the clerk turned to his attention, looking sadly at the wall full of missing children. Those are children who have been gone missing for years and never returned to Fire Country or their parents," he answered, shocking Jiraiya. "Years? When did this start?" Jiraiya asked, looking shocked at the information. "It's been happening on the day after the QB attack. From what I heard, lots of children turned up missing and their whereabouts were unknown. Parents, friends and siblings have searched day and night for their missing children or siblings," the clerk said with a sad face. "Does the Fire Daimyo know about this?" Jiraiya asked, with the store clerk nodding. "Yes, he knows. He sent all of his samurai to do a patrol all around the Fire Country capital and city to keep a close eye on children and has often told adults to keep a watchful eye on their children," he said, looking away. "I wonder why didn't he request Konoha shinobi for assistance," he wondered. "I don't know why. Try taking it up with him," the clerk said, with Jiraiya looking at him, noticing the guy's saddened expression. "You too?" he said, with the clerk nodding. "Yes, I lost my son. He has been missing for 5 years. Me and my wife and my parents have tried to find him and we still couldn't find him," said the clerk, looking sad. "We entrusted a babysitter to look after him because me and my wife were busy with our work, but that fateful day we made a mistake in doing that," said the clerk, looking away. "Do you have any chance by know of the culprit who has been abducting children?" Jiraiya asked, wanting to know. "I'm afraid not. Ask the daimyo or someone else. I have no idea who the culprit is," said the clerk. "Has there been any more kidnappings?" he asked again, just to be sure. "The last kidnapping happened a month ago and things has been quiet since then," he said before heading back to the desk. Jiraiya thought long and hard about this. He had to write a report about this information and send this to Tsunade, but paled at the thought of doing that. Scared she'll ask about Naruto's progress in his training, meaning he would have to tell her he lost Naruto. He would have to think of a way to somehow lie to her to buy him time to find Naruto. Jiraiya needed answers, and he needed them now, because if it wasn't the Akatsuki that kidnapped Naruto, then this mysterious culprit must have. Jiraiya left the store to seek an audience with the daimyo for answers. Maybe the daimyo knew what was going on and probably knew who the culprit was. With Naruto. Waking up from Naruto blinked his eyes rubbing them he was asleep for a week looking around his surroundings, he noticed he wasn't in the motel, this looked like one of them clan compound rooms he slowly got up noticing he was wearing a kimono, with a hint of orange with red Uzumaki swirls on them looking confused, wondering what happened to his orange jumpsuit. "Where am I?" he spoke. "Hello?" he said hoping was there anyone here. "Oh," said a voice that made him jump. "Step inside Naruto-kun," said a soft female voice. "How do you know me? Who are you?" he said trying to find where was this girl. Naruto-kun so you can eat." Said the gentle female voice again with him following the voice as it led him to a kitchen, as once he got there he instantly blushed at the sight of the woman before him. This was the same woman that took him away out of the motel, he was so stunned at her beauty seeing her beautiful gentle face staring into her dark blue eyes, looking down at the very white dress she was wearing as breasts were big as Tsunade's just everything about her was big, her arms were long, her hands were big, her legs were smooth and slender having a curvy waist. Naruto stood there lost looking at her wondering who was this beautiful tall woman as he noticed she was at the stove cooking something as he inhaled the smell, seeing she was cooking ramen. His favorite. "Sit down your ramen is almost ready," said Hachishaku-sama seeing Naruto sit down. "Who are you?" he asked her softly. "I am Hachishaku-sama Naruto-kun," she introduced bringing him a bowl of miso ramen. "Hachishaku-sama," he said remembering her name as she nodding before holding some chopsticks full of ramen passing it to him. "Open up," she said softly like an angel as he opened his mouth with her putting the ramen in his mouth as he started chewing on it eating it. "How is it Naruto-kun?" she said looking at him. The blonde widened his eyes in amazement at the taste of her miso ramen, it was just like what he has at Konoha, except it's better. "It's great. It tastes just like old man Tucci's ramen," he said with a grin as she smiled gently pushing the bowl of ramen to him. "Eat up Naruto-kun before it gets cold, while I start the bathhouse for us," she said walking out with a devious grin on her face. "Alright Hachi-chan." As he wolfed down on the ramen not paying attention at the last word she said. After he finishes the ramen with a happy smile he looked around for Hachishaku-sama looking for her, he heard her say bathhouse. He noticed there was steam coming out a room which looked like a bathhouse as he went looking around only for his eyes to widen and face to glow bright red with his nose bleeding. Get in Naruto-kun, the water is great just for us," she said smiling at his reaction. I have to join you." He squeaked out unable to look away from her body that was naked she was wearing nothing and didn't have a towel wrapped around her. On Naruto-kun she reached out her long arms taking his kimono off him before pulling the stunned blonde in the water with her. "Now let's bathe together Naruto-kun, I'll clean you up first," she said stroking his chest while leaning in to kiss the blonde. Naruto froze as his brain shut down feeling her kiss him. With Naruto. With his mind shut down Hachishaku-sama kissed him, the kiss was so tender that it automatically shut his brain down their tongues battled each other. Her tongue grew longer as it wrapped itself around his. The two broke away their kiss as Naruto panted looking at her beautiful face. Lemon happened. Fire Daimyo Castle. For about a day Jiraiya went to the Fire Daimyo's castle to speak to him about this mysterious culprit who has been kidnapping children. "So Jiraiya-sama, you want to know about who the culprit is?" spoke the Fire Lord with the Toad Sage nodding. "Yes, I wish to know why haven't you informed Konoha about the situation, we could have helped," the Toad Sage said with a frown seeing the Fire Daimyo sigh. "I will explain why I didn't listen. Whatever you do, what we discuss in my throne room stays a secret, it can't be said out public. Fail to comply and I will see to it you will be put to death," the Fire Lord said seriously as Jiraiya frowned hearing the threat but nodded. "The culprit who has been kidnapping Fire Country's children from what my priests say is that a spirit is culprit," said the Fire Daimyo, making Jiraiya raise a brow looking confused. "A spirit? A spirit? What would a spirit want with children?" Jiraiya asked wanting the Fire Lord to elaborate on what he was trying to say. "From what my priests say that this is just not any spirit but also a yakai at that. Tell me Jiraiya-sama, have you heard of Hachishaku-sama?" the daimyo said making the Toad Sage tense looking at him. Now Jiraiya had been familiar with the Hachishaku-sama, but it just can't be possible he believed she was a myth or a made-up legend that frightened adults and children. "Hachishaku-sama? Daimyo-sama, you don't mean that Hachishaku-sama? Do you?" Jiraiya exclaimed with his expression turned to panic as he remembered his sensei telling him and his teammates the tale about Hachishaku-sama and what she does in her nature. "Yes, Hachishaku-sama has been targeting lots of children in Fire Country. She tried to take my child away, but failed since my priests used the proper seals and tools to keep her at bay from my son," the daimyo said with a sigh of relief. "Wait, your son saw Hachishaku-sama?" Jiraiya said shocked. "Yes, he saw her in the gardens, he was frightened when he saw her as he ran instantly in the palace to tell me what he saw," the daimyo said waving his fan. The moment my priests told me about this Hachishaku-sama and that she was responsible for so many child kidnappings, I couldn't tell the civilian population about Hachishaku-sama. If I did, then the entire country will be up in uproar because of her, and I couldn't call Konoha for help, seeing it would make the situation worse. He explained, looking away as Jiraiya stood there with his horrified expression. Hachishaku-sama took Naruto, and it's all his fault for leaving him alone. Without a word he bolted out the throne room running, ignoring the fire daimyo calling his name. No. No. I must find him. He yelled in thought. Hang in there, Naruto. He yelled, still running. Now that he got the answers from the daimyo, it was clear that he needed to find Naruto ASAP. But Naruto 3 months later. Naruto lived happily and peaceful with his new loved interest Hachishaku-sama. Living in the compound as he was outside training until she returned, he needed to train and be strong enough to protect her and his soon-to-be family with her. She herself trained him and given him various scrolls to work on new training methods whenever she's away, leaving him warm raiment to satisfy his hunger. Wiping the sweat off his forehead from doing sit-ups, he walked back in the compound eating fresh hot ramen as he heard the door open, seeing her walk in the kitchen. Hachi-chan, you're back. He said with a warm smile, running to her, hugging her as she hugged him back. Training hard, have you, Naru-kun? She said, gently putting her big hand over her swollen stomach that showed she was indeed pregnant. Yes, I missed you. He exclaimed with her giggling. Well, now that I'm back, go get in the bath, I'll join you when I finish cooking dinner, she spoke, warming, seeing him nod, running off as she smiled, rubbing her pregnant belly happily. She has never been so happy before. She was going to make sure that no one takes away her Naruto-kun, and that she was going to make him forget all about going back to Konoha, the place that abused him and never showed him no love and acceptance. She was going to keep him here, making love to her, bear his children, and making his life happy. Konoha 3 years later. It had been 3 years since Naruto left the village, 3 years since Jiraiya had been looking for Naruto after the blonde had been kidnapped by the spirit. For 3 years Jiraiya searched everywhere for Naruto all over the elemental nations, and yet still no luck to where the spirit has taken him. He found nothing, no one hasn't seen him. It's like the spirit took Naruto off the face of the elemental nations, disappeared without a trace. Jiraiya was certain Naruto was still in Fire Country since it was a large country and he could not search the entire country looking a kid. With a heavy sigh, Jiraiya looked at the Hokage tower from the gates that he recently entered. He had to return to the village and face Tsunade's legendary wrath. Over the past 3 years he had lost all connections with Tsunade as he searched for Naruto. He couldn't lie to her, he thought it was best to avoid speaking to her, even if one of her messages got to him he never replied. He started drinking a whole bottle of sake until it was empty as he put up a straight brave face and tossed away the bottle, going straight for the Hokage tower to face Tsunade. Hokage office. Tsunade sat behind her desk doing paperwork. She detested doing the paperwork, but it was a duty to complete them, thus she left no choice but to do it. The paperwork was something of an everyday occurrence, she had to do it every day, and each day she would get a headache from seeing big loads of paperwork. It just never ends. Just when you think she was done, Shizune would bring another load of paperwork, much to her dismay. Tsunade sighed and leaned back to her chair. Ever since Naruto left the village she stopped consuming sake. She did so much work without spending her time drinking, sure did miss her sake and would savor it in peace without no one disturbing her. Thinking of Naruto, she did miss seeing him barge in her office, calling her botch and demanding for a mission. She missed every little annoying thing about him. Even the fact he would always run away whenever she wanted to check his physical health. As he hated hospitals, she missed having to have Shizune or Sakura chase him around the village to return him to the hospital. 3 years it has been, 3 whole years without seeing that big smile on Naruto's face. She also hoped that Jiraiya was training him to his best. She wanted him strong enough to protect himself from the Akatsuki and to be at least Jonin level. Jiraiya has not yet give her any progress report on Naruto's training. Something that was odd and unusual. Jiraiya would have been sending her reports and notes of Naruto's training every 2 or 3 months since he left, and it's been 3 years and no report. The window of her office opened as Jiraiya made his entrance. He did not get anywhere near Tsunade, fearing for the extreme ass kicking he was going to receive from her as he stood by the window. I'm home. He started with a large grin on his face, wanting to take a slow pace at what he was going to tell her. About time you showed up, pervert. She spoke with annoyance, staring at him. So why haven't you made any contact with me and why ignore my messages? Tsunade asked with a stern expression, seeing a bead of sweat roll down Jiraiya's face. Well, you see, I have been busy that I did not have the time to respond. Nonetheless, here I am. This beats by responding by letter as you get to see my handsome face. He said with a big smile, hiding his nervous expression. A large tick mark formed on her forehead, but it vanished when she spoke. So how is he? Why isn't he here with you? She asked, watching him closely. Jiraiya of course started sweating as a lump went down his throat as he prepared to tell her the truth and the world of hurt he was going to get. Well you see Haima, how can I say this, he spoke nervously as Tsunade eyed him with a stern glare. Naruto was kidnapped by the Hachishaku-sama, he spoke in a whisper but flinched when he felt a murderous aura form around Tsunade as she narrowed her eyes at him. What did you say? She roared, standing up from her desk as the killer intent radiated and her eyes went bloodshot red like a raging bull. Her voice shook the whole village. When Tsunade made a voice like that, she was definitely beyond pissed. Please calm down and let me explain. He pleaded, positioning his hands up in the air in a defensive manner as he was backed into a wall when he saw her making those giant angry steps, and once she got close to him all hell broke loose. Jiraiya's screams could be echoed throughout Konoha for 2 hours as Tsunade beat him into a bloody pulp and every bone in his body was broken. 3 hours later. After surgery, Jiraiya's whole body was bandaged as he looked like a mummy, despite every bone in his body was broken 10 times by Tsunade's monster strength. Explain everything. To me, Jiraiya. Leave one thing out and I'll kill you. She barked at him, staring at the toad sage. We were at Fire Country when we left the village. I dropped him off at a motel while I went to go meet my contact spy and I went off to the bathhouses, he said with a sigh as he heard Tsunade make an inhuman growl of that of an angry lioness. You were supposed to be watching him. Not go peep at women. Jiraiya, how could you? How could you let, she said with anger, but Jiraiya cut her off. He was taken away by Hachishaku-sama. When he said that, her furious expression was replaced with fear and panic. Did you say Hachishaku-sama? She spoke with wide eyes, seeing him nod. She remembered her sensei, her great-grandma Mito Uzumaki, tell her stories of the Hachishaku-sama. She couldn't believe it. She always thought of Hachishaku-sama as a scary myth, but that legend was real. Yes, when I returned from the bathhouse I found the door opened and found Naruto's ninja headband on the floor, he said, looking away in shame. What were you doing over these past 3 years? She said with narrowed eyes, still furious with him. I have been searching for him all over the nations and still no sign of him. He replied. How? How could you let this happen? What would happen if the Akatsuki snuck him under your nose? But they didn't snatch him, it was that damn urban legend. She yelled, angry. She was not going to let Jiraiya off the hook for this because it was his responsibility to look after Naruto and to watch him. How is it that Hachishaku-sama took him, and what the hell was she doing in fire, and what could she want with Naruto, and why? Why him of all people? Why did she have to target him like she's done to other children? Could it be the QB that drawn her attention? She thought long and hard about this, worried for the boy she cared for, as if he was her little brother or son. How exactly did you know that it was Hachishaku-sama that took him? She asked as he began telling her that the daimyo knew and told her that Hachishaku-sama had been kidnapping children all around Fire Country for years. Disturbing, so what now? Asked in a defeated tone, said Tsunade. I'll try to have the toads to find him, maybe we can use the reverse summoning to bring Naruto back here. I doubt Hachishaku-sama will be smart enough to prevent the reverse. I'll do it once I'm healed, he said in a confident tone that he will get his godson back. You better, Jiraiya, because if something like this happens again I will see to it that you won't be seeing Naruto again and he will be under my supervision. You got that? She said with a glare as he nodded weakly. She left the hospital room. Please Naruto, be safe. Was her thought. But Naruto. 3 years it has been living in a compound hut with Hachishaku-sama as Naruto grew older, wearing a kimono with Uzumaki whirlpools on it colored red as he was currently chopping some wood. Over the years with Hachishaku-sama he had been training and his ghost wife trained him also. He felt very happy, he loved his tall wife Hachishaku-sama and the 3 beautiful daughters that now have. The first daughter was Tiko Uzumaki. She has long black hair with her father's blue eyes as she wore a trench coat the color of beige and likes to ask her father was she pretty. She also likes to carry scissors. The second daughter was Sadako Uzumaki, black hair with streaks of blonde hair from her father, wearing a white morning dress like her mother. The third daughter was Kayako Uzumaki. She was Sadako's twin sister with pale skin and black eyes, wearing a white gown like her mother. He loved all 3 of his daughters equally, including their mother. Speaking of Hachishaku-sama, she is currently pregnant with twins again and they were both girls inside her womb. 3 years of happiness and peace. Naruto loved his new life. He was beginning to drop his dream of being Hokage and be with Hachishaku-sama and his children for the rest of his life. With Naruto. Naruto is eating dinner with his twin daughters Sadako and Kayako Uzumaki, while Hachishaku-sama and Tiko were in the next room. So mother, you think father's old village will seek out for him? Said Tiko, who was playing with her scissors. I believe they are. Your father has to stay here with me and be happy here living on this island. Hachishaku-sama said, looking up at the mantelpiece that held an Itachi sword that was sheathed and was a little dusty. That sword belonged to Hachishaku-sama. She named it Shirao. Back in the first or second shinobi war she used to kill monks and adults with a sword, and she was highly skilled and fast with it. She had a feeling she might need to use her sword again in case Konoha shinobi or whoever they send comes for her. Naruto-kun, she wasn't going to let no one take him away from her. Right, what of that group of S-rank shinobi, the Akatsuki? Asked Tiko, with her mother looking at her with a side-eyed glance. I will leave that to you and your sisters, but if push comes to shove I'll deal with them myself. We need them gone, said Hachishaku-sama in a dark tone as Tiko had an impassive face. And the Leaf Village? Her daughter asked again, with Hachishaku-sama sighing. As long as they leave us alone we won't have to kill them, we will give them a warning first, Hachishaku-sama said, rubbing her swollen stomach, feeling her twins kick. What will be the name of my new twin sisters? Tiko asked. I will name one Yuki and the other Aoi. Her mother answered as Tiko grinned her ear-to-ear smile. Sometime later at night, Naruto was in his shared bed that he and Hachishaku-sama have together while their children were in their own bedrooms. Laying on his wife's huge breasts as pillows as she held him in her arms, sleeping peacefully as she smiled warmly seeing him sleep like that, all cuddled up in her giant breasts. Petting his head with her big hand before closing her eyes going back to sleep, she was going to make sure that Konoha or the Akatsuki wasn't going to take him away from her. She was going to have the Akatsuki dealt with soon. As for Konoha, she was going to see them personally herself and warn them not to try taking him away from her. Because Naruto belongs to her and only her alone. Mount Myaboku. Jiraiya was sweating up a storm seeing he was surrounded by every toad as he saw Ma and Pop plus Gamabunta, who all looked extremely angry with the toad sage, as he had an idea on why they were looking at him like that and why they used a reverse summon to bring him here. Do you know why you are here, Jiraiya? Asked Pa, glaring at the man. Yes, he said with a gulp down his throat. We have been meaning to ask you as to why Minato's son decided to have decline our contract. He no longer wants to summon us. Yelled Gamabunta, with Jiraiya widening his eyes. What? What did you say? The toad sage yelled, not wanting to believe he heard right. You heard us. The tadpole doesn't want to summon us anymore. He quit the toad summoning contract and we believe that you are the reason for it. Accused Ma, glaring at him. That's not true. I didn't do anything to upset him. Said Jiraiya. He couldn't believe Naruto would cast aside the toad summoning contract. That was something he did not expect to happen. Oh really? Then why did my son happen to hear what Naruto said before he ended the contract? I believe his words were, I quit being a ninja and Hokage. He has found a new interest in his life. Those were his exact words. Gamabunta spoke, looking furious. Jiraiya was lost for words. He couldn't believe it. Did Naruto actually said those words? It was that damn urban legend. She's manipulating him. She's twisting his mind, making him quit being a shinobi and gave away his dream of being Hokage. Minato and Kushina would be rolling over their graves if they heard this. Jiraiya started telling them that Hachishaku-sama was the reason Naruto was like this, as all the toads went pale, even they feared her power. Hachishaku-sama has returned, so the rumors were right in the summoning world that she has been set free and has been wandering in the elemental nations praying after children, muttered Pa, who was sweating. Do you know where she is? If so, we can go there and retrieve Naruto from her. Jiraiya said, with hope, only to see them shake their heads. It's not that simple, Jiraiya, and we can't go to her location, said Pa, making Jiraiya look at him in shock. Why not? We have to save Naruto from her clutches. Can't you see what she's doing to him? He yelled, hoping that they weren't afraid of her. Because Jiraiya, it wouldn't be wise to provoke Hachishaku-sama or take away someone she likes, and she won't take no for an answer. She's extremely dangerous than a Byakuya. We may be summons, but she is at the higher food chain than us and any other summons creature. Spoke Pa, who looked away. She's not the tall demon lady for nothing. I'm sorry, Jiraiya, but I'm afraid we can't help you in taking Naruto boy from her, spoke Ma, who looked down. What are you saying? He yelled, not believing that they were actually afraid of her. What we're trying to say is that you are on your own to get Naruto back from her. We can't help if she found out we were involved in this. She could send her spirit into the summoning world and hunt us down, killing us all for meddling in her affairs. Only you and Konoha are the ones to retrieve Naruto from her without our help. Please don't take this the wrong way. We would love to help getting him back, but we can't. It would cause bloodshed, spoke Pa, as Jiraiya looked like he had been struck with a Rasengan. Is there any way I can do to kill her? He spoke, seeing them shake their heads. No, she's eternal. She can't be killed. Only way to defeat her is to seal her away in a Jizo seal that would contain her. Goodbye, Jiraiya, said Pa, who sent Jiraiya away back to the Konoha hospital. Konoha hospital. Jiraiya fell back on his bed groaning. He was shocked that the toads were afraid of Hachishaku-sama and wouldn't help finding Naruto, but what shocked him more was that Naruto gave away his dream and ended the contract that he felt so sad about. He just wished that he never left that motel to peep at women and stayed to train Naruto. I must do something. To get him back. Tsunade will be heartbroken when she hears this, he thought, now getting up heading to the Hokage Tower. Konoha Hokage Tower. What do you mean the toads won't help us in finding Naruto? Yelled Tsunade with a look of disbelief on her face, staring at Jiraiya, who winced. Tsunade, they are afraid of Hachishaku-sama, it's hard to believe that they fear her, as if she's some Bujiman. Jiraiya spoke with a sigh as he explained. How can this be? How could Naruto deliberately end the toad contact and rather stay with Hachishaku-sama unless she's bewitching him to end the contract and is influencing him? Jiraiya, we need to do this for Minato's and Kushina's sake, we have to save him from her dirty claws. Tsunade said, fully worried for Naruto, as Jiraiya nodded. I'll do everything in my power to get him back from Hachishaku-sama. We just need to find a Jizo seal, and I can modify it to seal away Hachishaku-sama for good, and maybe once Naruto is saved, we can have Inoichi erase any memory of Hachishaku-sama from Naruto's mind. Jiraiya said, with Tsunade agreeing. Good idea. Now we just have to find Naruto, and where could Hachishaku-sama be hiding him? Tsunade pondered, with Jiraiya sighing in deep thought as she noticed his expression. What's wrong? She said. Before I came to inform you about the toads, my spies recently given me information about the other elemental villages, losing just about 77% of their children, said Jiraiya, grimly, making Tsunade widen her eyes in horror. So you're saying not only Hachishaku-sama killed children in Fire Country, but also went to Kiri, Suna, Iwa and Kumo? This is crazy. Why is she killing innocent children? Did she happen to come to Konoha and take away any children? Tsunade shouted, with Jiraiya shrugging. I have no clue unless Sensei knew about it, he might have reports of missing children taken from our village, concluded Jiraiya. I might have to check just to be sure. Who knows if she came here and took away some children, said Tsunade with a heavy sigh. What are we going to do, Jiraiya? Has your spy network got any update on Hachishaku-sama's recent whereabouts? Said Tsunade, with Jiraiya shaking his head. No, from what I gathered from my informant that Hachishaku-sama has been off and on the radar. There's lots of rumors from all over the elemental nations concerning her. Now if I was a yokai spirit taking away children, where would I be? He said, rubbing his chin. We might need the rookies and their senseis involved in this, Jiraiya said, making her raise a brow. Why? She replied. Because we might need them on this and inform them about Naruto and Hachishaku-sama, he said, seeing her sigh, closing her eyes. Give me time to think about it. Right now I have a headache, she said, slumping down in her chair. If that is all, I'll see what I can do and find a Jizo seal, plus have more spies to look for more rumors about Hachishaku-sama, said Jiraiya, as he leaped out the window, with Tsunade sighing before drinking a bottle of sake to relieve this headache. But the Akatsuki. All members of the Akatsuki were gathered up in their secret hideout. Now that we have been gathered up, we shall capture any Jinchuriki for peace and justice, said Pain, with Conan at his side. About time we get this show on the road. I'm just dying to test out my art, said Deidara, with his partner Sasori grunt in annoyance. I have news that you all should be aware about, spoke White Zetsu, gaining everyone's attention. Do tell us what you have, Zetsu, spoke Pain. Since we have caught the Yonbi Jinchuriki before 3 years, I have learned that 2 Jinchuriki have gone missing over the past 3 years, White Zetsu spoke, with everyone looking confused. Ab just stared. Do you have any idea on which of the 2 Jinchuriki have gone missing? Said Kakazu, looking interested at this information. It seems that the Gobi Jinchuriki has gone missing for 4 years. I went to Iwa and heard that the Jinchuriki Hanya, who held the Gobi, had gone missing and was never seen again, spoke Black Zetsu, with everyone looking quite concerned about this. And the other Jinchuriki that's missing? Spoke Itachi Uchiha this time. The QB Jinchuriki went missing for 3 years, spoke Black Zetsu, dropping the bomb as everyone widened their eyes at this. Impossible. The little brat went missing, said Kisum. However, we recently have heard rumors of something else. That should be brought up to our attention. Said White Zetsu. What is it? Spoke Pain emotionlessly. We heard rumors that the Hachishaku-sama is roaming around the elemental nations, spoke Black Zetsu as he shivered, was sweating a little at the thought of Hachishaku-sama, same with White Zetsu, as everyone else looked shocked hearing this information about Hachishaku-sama walking the nations. This Hachishaku-sama. Why should I be worried about her? I am God and God fears nothing, said Pain, with Conan looking at him as if he was stupid. Pain-sama, do you have any idea what she is? Spoke Itachi, as he had heard stories of Hachishaku-sama from his mother and knew that the urban legend was real. She's someone not to be crossed. He'd not we encounter her, spoke Conan, as she had heard folktales about urban legends. Why are you guys being beeps afraid of a old hag? That's a spirit, it's not like she's the fucking Bujiman that frightens everyone. How Lord Jashin isn't afraid of her? Spoke Haiden, making everyone glare at him. Are you stupid? She's more than just being a old hag. She's a fucking yokai. You hear me, yokai? She's a demon. Kakazu said at his partner. Enough. Said Pain, shutting everyone up. We are to continue our work on finding the Jinchuriki and take away their tailed beast. We have no reason to be afraid of some old legend, she's no threat to us, he said, looking at each member with his Rinnegan, as they all frowned. Zetsu, you are to find both the QB Jinchuriki and Gobi Jinchuriki. Once you found their locations, return to us, understand, spoke Pain, with Zetsu nodding in understanding as he sunk underground, and for some reason the plant man didn't like this. At Konoha night time. Why are we here, mother? Spoke Tiko. Because we are going to give Konoha a message, one towards the Hokage, she will receive this message from me. I have a job for you, you are to go to the orphanage and massacre the staff and murder the children. They must be punished for causing harm to your father, said Hachishaku-sama, with Tiko grinning, her ear-to-ear mouth holding her scissors and butcher knife. I'll give them a ear-to-ear smile, grinned Tiko, who vanished heading to the orphanage. Maybe next time I'll bring Sadako and Kayako, but thought Tiko should do this because she's the oldest and I trust what she does, this village will be punished, I'll show them the agony that Naruto suffered, spoke Hachishaku-sama as she unsheathed her Nadachi sword Shirao. Now where can I write the message, she said, grinning, heading in the village. In the orphanage. Tiko Uzumaki used her intangibility to walk in the orphanage and flirted a little of her Yakai chakra to lock all doors and windows as she clipped her foot-long unnatural scissors. Her father, she spoke, walking into the children's bedroom and start slaughtering them like cattle. But Hachishaku-sama. Hachishaku-sama is at the Hokage tower as she had recently stolen the forbidden scroll and is carrying it as she was heading for someone to kill. And his name was Yamato. Yamato was on his patrol at night wearing his mask, his codename was Tenzo, he was going another direction, but paused. Po. Po 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 po. Po po po. He heard that sound, looking confused as he turned around, and before he could react his eyes widened in fear when he saw a long Nadachi sword swung at him, beheading him. Sorry Tenzo, but I can't afford to have you alive, knowing the Hokage would use you for capturing Naruto with that wood-style jutsu of yours, she spoke with coldness, flicking her sword, getting some blood off. She teleported away, heading for the gate. Village gate. Tiko was there covered in blood as she grinned madly, seeing her mother come. I trust you did what I told you, right? Hachishaku-sama spoke with her older daughter nodding. Yes, did you deliver the message? Her daughter spoke. Of course, I left her message on her desk, let's get going, said Hachishaku-sama as both her and her daughter vanished. Konoha morning. The village had gone under lockdown when an explosion erupted at an apartment complex building early this morning around 5 o'clock that killed the staff and everyone who lived in it, then all Jonin, Chunin and Anbu were up sweeping through the forest around Konoha. An hour later, incident happened. 4 different orphanages had been massacred in a bloody way with grotesque ear-to-ear bloody slit mouths. All staff and children died. Hyuga clan, Inyazuka clan, and Aburami clans were sent to investigate every orphanage. They were looking, smelling, sensing for anything and everything they could find to lead them to the culprit behind this. So far they received nothing. Nothing at all. Some time ago they found a dead Anbu who was codenamed Tenzo, who was beheaded. Tsunade could pale slightly at what she was looking at in the Hokage office. The whole place had been trashed, but that's not what made her pale. Her fists clenched when she saw that the wall where the forbidden scroll was once located was destroyed, showing a large hole, and that the scroll itself was gone. So many secrets and jutsus were now stolen. But by who? And who could have caused all of this disaster that she just recently heard from her Anbu? Hokage-sama. I found something, said Yugao. What is it? Demanded Tsunade. It's a message written in blood, said Yuga, making Tsunade move to where the message was. She widened her eyes when she saw the message on a large picture of the Yondaime Hokage, as the handwriting was written in blood. No. Just no. It can't be, thought Tsunade, feeling a chill run down her spine reading the whole message. Let me Jiraiya ASAP. Form the meeting with the council at once, shouted Tsunade, with Yuga flinching as she shunshin doing what Tsunade said. Hachishaku-sama, she was actually here, thought Tsunade in fear. Konoha council chamber. The Hokage Tsunade Senju rounded up everyone to the council to discuss about this morning's disaster. The elders, civilian council and shinobi council was there, plus Jiraiya, also the Jonins except for the rookies. Hokage-sama, we demand a good explanation on what happened this morning. Who could do such a thing? Massacring 4 orphanages in one night. And stole the forbidden scroll and killed 1 Anbu. Spoke Homura. I'm going to tell you all about who the culprit is who done this, spoke Tsunade, who was flinching after the message she saw. We'd like to know now, spoke Danzo, who was secretly angry that Tenzo was killed and he wanted the man and his root Anbu. The culprit behind this was none other than Hachishaku-sama, Tsunade said. That made the old and Jonins look pale, having panicked expressions, same with the elders. Please tell me you're joking, Tsunade. Hachishaku-sama couldn't have done this, spoke Kaharu with an expression of disbelief. No one didn't want to believe the fact that Hachishaku-sama was actually real and was the cause of the disaster. Stop joking about this, Tsunade. No time for urban legends. There's no way she's the cause of this. Said Danzo, only to tense when the council doors and windows locked and the lights dimmed down, making everyone tense and shiver. Ho po 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 po. Ho po 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 po. As soon as everyone's eyes widened in complete fear, a chill ran down their spines. Ho po 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 po. Standing on the council table was Hachishaku-sama herself, who so happened to appear out of thin air. P.O. Everyone screamed and threatened to jump out their seats just from seeing her. By good morning Konoha Council and Hokage-sama, spoke Hachishaku-sama with an ear-to-ear smile that meant nothing good. AC Hachishaku-sama. Squeaked Jiraiya, who was pale white seeing her, but his eyes widened more at the sight of her stomach that looked like she was 7 months pregnant. Tsunade noticed Hachishaku-sama's pregnant stomach too and wondered how in the world can a spirit get pregnant. Someone help us. Help us. Screamed a civilian council member as Hachishaku-sama giggled sweetly. I'm afraid no one can get in, my Yakai chakra has locked the doors and windows, plus a barrier is formed out the door, meaning no one cannot leave without my say-so. Hachishaku-sama said, stroking her Nadachi sword that was sheathed. Now I'm not here to kill you all, just yet. I came here to talk, she spoke with everyone looking tense as her attention turned to Tsunade and Jiraiya. Where is he, Hachishaku-sama? Where is Naruto? Demanded Jiraiya with her frowning at him. Oh, Naruto-kun. He is quite safe from all of you. She spoke, making Tsunade give her a stern glare. What are you talking about? Why are you keeping him from us? And most importantly, why did you take him? Tsunade demanded, seeing Hachishaku-sama tilt her head at her. You know exactly why, Tsunade-san, given how he is treated here in this village. He no longer wants nothing to do with Konoha, she spoke with a cold glare. Bullshit. You're bewitching him. Konoha is his home. Tsunade yelled with a scowl as Hachishaku-sama looked at her with a scowl as well. Am I? I have no reason to influence him, he stayed with me willingly. As I said before, he no longer wants nothing to do with Konoha, not even his own dream of being Hokage, spoke Hachishaku-sama, making everyone have wide eyes at her words. You're lying. Naruto would never do that. He knows the Leaf Village is his home. He will be Hokage. Said Kakashi, with everyone nodding with the exception of Danzo, Kaharu and Homura. He's not coming back to this village, the boy has a now important responsibility now, besides I know full well that he will never achieve his dream, this village will never accept him for who he is and what he is. You of all people should know the life Jinchurikis had gone through, said Hachishaku-sama, making Tsunade, Jiraiya and Kakashi flinch at her words. You stole our weapon. I demand you give him back. Spoke Danzo as he sweated, seeing Hachishaku-sama's murderous glare that told him to shut up. I'm not giving him back to the likes of you, Danzo-san. Naruto-kun stays with me and our family forever. She declared. Give me back my godson, you child-killing bitch. Demanded Jiraiya, seeing Hachishaku-sama turn to him. Now you calling him your godson? After all those years of loneliness he went through? What gives you the right to even call him your godson when you neglected your duties to look after him on your student's behalf? Spoke Hachishaku-sama, making Jiraiya flinch and look away. I had a spine at work to maintain. I thought he would be better in sensei's care, Jiraiya admitted, looking down, hearing her scoff. Excuses all the reason to keep Naruto-kun away from you and anyone else, she said, making him scowl. Give me back my student. Said Kakashi, pulling down his mask, revealing his Sharingan glimmering red. Your supposed student. Why should I? When you never trained him to begin with, all you taught him was tree climbing and teamwork, you even brushed him off to Ibisu, who had no little love for Naruto-kun, well you focused on the Uchiha brat, Hachishaku-sama shot back, making Kakashi flinch at being caught as his Jonin comrades, and Tsunade herself glared at him. Hachishaku-sama, please give Naruto back, he's important to the Leaf. Said Tsunade, hoping to reason with the 8-foot ghost. The answer is no, Tsunade, I know full well why he's important, he is the Yondaime's legacy, am I correct? Hachishaku-sama said, making everyone look astonished at what she said. How? Thought everyone. The boy is mine and he will never come to you. I told him his heritage, I told him everything that you all kept from him. He is angry with you and doesn't want nothing to do with you, spoke Hachishaku-sama, making everyone look shocked, losing all hope in reforming bonds with Naruto. But Naruto has friends. Said Kurenai. Maybe so, but he might not trust them either, she spoke, not really caring. Please Hachishaku-sama. Let us see Naruto. We want to make things right. Pleaded Kakashi. The answer is still no. He is mine. You all don't deserve him, you all don't care for the things he's done, you kept his heritage from him, lying to his face about who his parents are, and denied him his rank of Chunin and training, stunting his growth. This village treated him like he was vermin. His so-called godfather never took his responsibilities to look after him. I'm giving him the happiness he deserves. Spoke Hachishaku-sama with him looking at her in fear when she unsheathed her sword. You will never find me or Naru-kun if you so much as make an attempt in finding him or trying to bring him back to this village, then I will see to it that this entire village will be stained with everyone's blood. Don't test my wrath. Because I will have no problem in unleashing it now. Goodbye. She said, vanishing, making everything revert to normal as everyone took in what she said. They prayed for worse. The last thing they wanted was a 8-foot ghost going on a rampage. This meeting is dismissed. What was seen or mentioned here in this meeting stays a secret. Failure to comply will be a result in death. Tsunade commanded, with everyone nodding and leaving, except for Jiraiya and the Jonin senseis. The rest of you come to my office. Bring the rookies, Tsunade said, seeing them raise a brow. What are you planning? Spoke Jiraiya as he winced from Tsunade's glare, and he knew why she was looking at him like that. You will see soon enough. Let's go, she said, darkly, leaving with everyone following her. Hokage office. There was all of the Jonins, including Mitarashi, Anko and Iruka, with every rookies. Jiraiya was also there as Tsunade looks at all of them. Man. Remember, this is now Shippuden. Alright, listen up all of you. I want all of you to know that Naruto was taken away by the Hachishaku-sama, spoke Tsunade, making everyone look a little shocked. Sensei, who is the Hachishaku-sama? Asked Sakura, looking at her master. Hachishaku-sama is a very tall woman who is over 8 feet tall. Her appearance is that she wears a white morning dress and sun hat. She's rumored to be the scariest yokai and fearsome woman in the elemental nations. She is an urban legend that was here during the Sage of the Six Paths era, explained Tsunade, making everyone take in what she said. And what does she want with Naruto, asked Iruka, who looked worried. I am not sure, I don't know, but I don't want to believe the things she said in the meeting, said Tsunade with a sad look. However, I want all of you to go on a mission to find him. Bring him back to Konoha, she said, shocking everyone. But Hokage-sama, what about what she said? Don't you remember her threat, spoke Kakashi, who flinched at Tsunade's angry glare. I know what she said. And I don't care. We're bringing him back. I'm not letting her influence him any longer than she has. She yelled, making everyone flinch. Jiraiya spoke but stopped, seeing her glare. As a matter of fact, you or Kakashi shouldn't go on this mission finding him, she said, shocking the two. Hokage-sama, why Naruto needs us? Kakashi asked. You two both know why. You both are the cause of this. She said, making them look away. Look, I know this is all my fault and I want to take full responsibility for it. Please let me go out and find him. Jiraiya pleaded. He really wanted to fix his mistakes and he wanted to do this for his late student's sake. She glared at the two and huffed. Fine. You two will go with him and find him, and when you do, bring him back. Kakashi, I'm not putting Naruto back on Team 7 due to your teachings, and Jiraiya, you're not seeing him again or even go near him, is that understood? She said, seeing them protest at what she was saying. I said, is that understood? She yelled much louder, making them flinch and shrink as they nodded. But now everyone, Jiraiya will fill you in about Hachishaku-sama. Remember, try to convince Naruto to come back, she spoke. Hokage-sama, what if Naruto refuses? Spoke Iruka, looking nervous. She sighed, looking down. If he refuses, use force if necessary, but don't harm him too much, she said, hoping Naruto didn't have to fight his friends. She was nervous on sending them, hoping Hachishaku-sama doesn't kill them. Understood, Hokage-sama, said Kakashi, with everyone leaving following Jiraiya. Tsunade-sama, are you sure this is the right thing to do? What if they don't make it back? Knowing Hachishaku-sama will kill them, said Shizune, worried as Tsunade looked down. I'm hoping it doesn't come that way, Tsunade said, getting up from her desk, putting on her Hokage robes and hat. Where are you going? Her student asked. I'm going to have a word with the Fire Lord and ask him for his monk, Chiriku, for assistance to help Jiraiya seal away Hachishaku-sama in the Jizo seal, and figure how can a spirit get pregnant. Tsunade said, walking out the door, leaving her student unaware to them that a demon weasel listening to the whole conversation, and it vanished, going to report to its mistress. But Naruto. Currently watching Sadako Uzumaki run around chasing a butterfly while Kayako was sitting down holding her knees, looking both ways. Hiko was sharpening her scissors and wearing her white surgical procedure mask. Naruto watched his 3 daughters as he looked up in the sky, just wondering about some things regarding his life and how he's living. He has a beautiful 8-foot-tall woman who loves him for who he is and is having a family with him, all the love and affection she had been giving him. He loved Hachishaku-sama and never wants to leave her and his 3 daughters, with 2 more on the way. Then he thought about his heritage. He thought about how his own father of all people put a demonic fox in him that had made his life a living hell. He thought about all the years of loneliness he went through and endured all of the murder attempts and attacks he'd be receiving on his birthday. At some point, he really wanted to lash out on the villagers who made his life terrible. What's much worse was that the Sandaime, Kakashi, Jiraiya and Tsunade all knew about his heritage and they never bothered to tell him. All his life he had been alone. All his life he had been unloved and unwanted. All his life he struggled and craved for affection and acknowledgement. All his life he had been mistreated, bullied, given poor treatment at the academy. He was kicked out the orphanage at 6 and was forced to be homeless looking for food out the garbage. Stores and restaurants would overcharge him with their services to him, and the restaurants would poison his food. The only restaurant that didn't treat him like that was Old Man Tuchi Ichiraku and AM. He always earned harsh glares and paid no attention to him, as if he was an unwanted animal or a disease that should not exist. His own father, the late Yondaime Hokage, burdened him with this curse that he did not ask for. As a result, he suffered a harsh, lonely life, being the village's pariah. Heirs in his Jason, Kakashi, Tsunade and Jiraiya all knew about his parents and his rightful heritage. The moment Hachishaku-sama told him this, he was losing respect for them and no longer wanted nothing to do with them. He no longer trusted them. Kakashi Hatake was his late father's only surviving student who didn't teach him anything but tree climbing and teamwork, yet his own sensei been showing favoritism towards Sasuke and brushed him off to Ibisu, who had no love for him, and his sensei even berated him about his shinobi skills. Hiruzen and Tsunade lied to him and dismissed him when he came asking about his parents. Then there was Jiraiya, his own godfather. The man who taught his father, the man who was never there for him for 13 years, the man who neglected him and forsaken him just to chase after Orochimaru for 13 years. The man never wrote him or inquired his well-being, not once. While he keeps himself occupied with women peeking at them in the bathhouses and other matters for 13 years. 13 fucking years. The man named Jiraiya was never there to teach him, to raise him and protect him for 13 years. Naruto truly hated Jiraiya and could never forgive him if given the chance. He wasn't so sure about his own friends. Sure, there was Shikamaru, Choji and Hinata, who never saw him that way or always stayed by his side when every other parent had told their children to stay away from him, yet Shikamaru and Choji didn't. He saved Hinata from those bullies and she got taken away by her bodyguard, who wasn't even there to watch her while the bullies harassed her. He wasn't sure about his friends, he didn't even know if he could call the others his friends. The only friends he could trust is Shikamaru and Choji with Hinata. So much had been going on in his mind after learning of his heritage and family. He wanted to vent out his emotions on how angry he was, but decided to keep it at bay and just be happy with his own family. He wanted to just not think of anything else but his family, Hachishaku-sama his wife, Sadako, Tiko and Kayako his 3 daughters and 2 more on the way. Father, look. I caught the butterfly. Called out Sadako, who broke Naruto's thoughts as he turned to her. Oh, that's great, Sadako-chan. He said, petting her head as she giggled while holding the butterfly. Tiko was watching from the sidelines as she walked back in the house, knowing her mother was in the kitchen cooking. Hachishaku-sama was stirring up her soup while making the fire go high, wearing an apron while patting her 7-month pregnant stomach. 2 more months and her twins were going to be born. As she showed a gentle smile, she turned around noticing her oldest daughter Tiko was eyeing the kitchen. Yes. Tiko-chan. Hachishaku-sama spoke in her gentle voice that was so angelic, as if she was a gentle mother. I received a report from the demon weasels. It seems the Hokage has sent all of the Konoha rookies and their senseis to search for father, and you, the Hokage, is also in search of a priest in Fire Country and looking for a Jizo seal to seal you away, spoke Tiko, waiting for her mother's reaction. Hachishaku-sama froze as the temperature in the room went cold. It seems Konoha never learns and they defy my wraith. Get the forbidden scroll from the basement, said Hachishaku-sama in a cold tone. Are we going to tell father about this, spoke Tiko, seeing her mother shake her head. No, it's best to not upset him, he must not know. Follow me, she said before leaving a shadow clone to cook while her and Tiko left. But Hachishaku-sama. Impure resurrection. Ito Tensei. Hachishaku-sama said, using 3 children as sacrifices. Summoned up 3 coffins as the lids opened. One coffin revealed Zabuza Mamachi as Tiko sticked his sword in the ground. The second coffin revealed Kamimuro Kagaya. The third coffin revealed Haku Mamachi as Tiko placed a new Kiri mask by Haku's coffin. Hachishaku-sama also used the Ito Tensei again to summon up 50 coffins, revealing them to be Uzumaki samurais. You 3 will be my pawns, my puppets, you 3 will be my yokai generals. I have a mission for you 3, hunt down the Konoha shinobi who are after my Naru-kun, kill them all. Alongside you will be a small army of Uzumaki samurais to assist you. Zabuza Mamachi, you are in charge and will take lead. Before you 3 I will give you each a special yokai gift. She said, raising her hand, channeling her yokai chakra into Zabuza, Haku and Kamimuro. Zabuza, since you claim to be the demon of the mist, you have the strength and power of a real Oni demon. She said, seeing him glow with killer intent and with a deathly aura. Haku, you have been gifted the powers of Yuki-onna. You are a snow woman. Hachishaku-sama declared, seeing Haku grow out giant ice claws as the area around her starts to freeze. And lastly Yukimimuro Kagaya, since you have a special bloodline that involves bones I have given you the power to be Gashadakuro the 90-foot skeleton. Your bones are unbreakable and indestructible. Hachishaku-sama said. You three are on the clock now, go do as I told. Show no mercy. She said seeing the three nod obediently and vanished off with their samurais behind them. While they deal with the retrieval squad we must do something about that priest who serves under the fire daimyo Hachishaku-sama said, seeing her daughter look at her. Allow me to do it mother I'll kill him and any other monk that serves the Fire Lord said Tiko grinning her ear-to-ear smile under her surgical mask. Very well I'll let you do it, go make mommy proud, remember we must do this for your father's sake, we can't let Konoha have him back, just for pulling the stunt, they just signed their own deed warrant, Hachishaku-sama spoke seeing her daughter nod and walk away, but stopped looking back at her mother. And what about you mother? Tiko asked. I'm heading to Kumo and capture a cat that will be our house pet and guardian and servant of our new family, Yujido Nai, since I possess the body of Hanyu the Gobi Jinchuriki, I have control over her body, I hid her soul, and the gobi-tailed beast in a pillar, having full control of her perfect body, Hachishaku-sama said, vanishing on her way to Kumo. There laid Yujido Nai who was severely injured from fighting both Haiden and Kakuzu, who were capturing her, so that her tailed beast could be ripped out, the two marched over to her, but suddenly they paused hearing a sound. Po 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 po. As soon as they heard that sound a shiver went down both of their spines and beat their heads behind their shoulders, widening their eyes in shock that it was Hachishaku-sama. Behind them with an Itachi sword in hand. Yujido was barely conscious and stayed awake long enough to know who this woman was and why did she look pregnant, while the Nibi in her mindscape shivered in fear. Holy shit. It's the old 8-foot bitch that Zetsu told us about. Haiden spoke seeing her have a cold expression. The temperature went cold when Haiden called her old sure, she can change her appearance of an old elderly woman or beautiful young woman, but she did not like being called old. Shit. Zetsu was right. She is real. Said Kakuzu looking at her in fear. I believe you two have someone that belongs to me. Spoke Hachishaku-sama in a cold tone. You want the Nibi Jinchuriki? What for? Demanded Haiden. That is none of your concern give her to me and maybe I'll let the both of you live she said with malice looking at them with ice-cold eyes that would have froze the ocean. I'm afraid we can't do that she's ours and Pain-sama would not be pleased if we returned with nothing said Kakuzu seeing her unsheath her Nadachi sword Shirao as the blade shined in sunlight. But I was hoping you'd say that, I'll spare you his wraith by killing the both of you and see him personally. Hachishaku-sama said deathly as if she was the Shinigami and lunged forward at the two and nailed Kakuza's chest, stabbing his heart in the process, before pulling out and raised her sword up in the air, going to cut the money-hungry Akatsuki member in two, while Haiden jumped forward with his scythe. Take this you big bitch. Haiden cursed but widened his eyes when he saw her hair move in tendrils and swore her hair was barbed hooks as they latched onto Haiden and tossed him away as she focused on Kakuzu, who was in pain after losing his heart. He looked up and feared worst when he saw her raise that sword, seeing she was going to chop him in half. Shirao Hachishaku-sama spoke in a deadly voice that had never been heard of before as she slowly put the sword against Kakuzu's head, seeing the blade go right through him. His eyes widened. Aya. He screamed in pain and agony. Kakuzu. Said Haiden reaching for his scythe getting up to save his partner. Slow ballad she spoke in a tone of hollow and emotionlessly death and was cutting him down vertically slowly in a gory way as blood squelched everywhere. Yujido looked on in shock and horror at what she was seeing. You bitch. You will pay. Jashin-sama will claim your life. Haiden spoke but saw her hair shift and turned into barbed hooks as they latched onto him. Hachishaku-sama stared at him with an impassive cruel expression. Is this the best you got? It seems your so-called Jashin-sama has forsaken you, now die. Spoke Hachishaku-sama as her hair hooks mercilessly and brutally ripped Haiden apart piece by piece, tearing apart all of his flesh and internal organs as she vertically and horizontally cut his head into tiny little hundreds of pieces killing him. Yujido felt sick to her stomach from watching the brutality this woman has done as she looked up in horror, seeing Hachishaku-sama tower over her injured body. What are you? Spoke Yujido terrified seeing this woman was not a woman and could tell she was something else. I am your savior and new master answered Hachishaku-sama who was covered in blood from ripping apart Haiden and picked Yujido up before putting the woman to sleep as Hachishaku-sama turned towards the shadows and narrowed her eyes seeing Zetsu who had witnessed the whole thing. He even looked horrified and was too scared to move. Why don't you take off and tell your Pain-sama that if he wishes to cross my path again and try to hunt after my Naru-kun, there will be hell to pay, she said deathly with her deadly glare, with a huge amount of killing intent towards Zetsu, who nodded dumbly, fearing for his life he sunk in the ground, not wanting to stay around and piss her off to go report to his leader. Hachishaku-sama vanished carrying Yujido with her. With Tiko. Hiko Uzumaki was in Fire Country sneaking into the daimyo's palace holding her foot-long scissors. She used her intangibility to walk through walls and was going for the daimyo's office as she opened up her beige trench coat and pulled out lots of high chakra-powered explosive seals and was setting them all in the daimyo's office should he walk in here and place some in his bedroom just in case. She left now heading to kill Chiriku and every monk and priest that were loyal under the daimyo. She had to finish this before the Hokage gets here. She grinned her ear-to-ear slit mouth under her surgical mask as she disguised herself as a maiden and still walked forward to find her prey. Kumo. What? What do you mean Yujito is missing? Bellowed Raikage, who looked at his Anbu captain. It's just as we reported Raikage-sama, we tracked Yujito's location and found her Kumo headband. We also found a dead Akatsuki member. We believe it's Kakuzu from Taki. We sealed his cut in half body in a scroll, spoke the Anbu captain, seeing the Raikage gruff. HMPH. I want Yujito found. Search everywhere for her in the lightning border. She couldn't have gone that far. He commanded, seeing them nod as they left to do what he commanded. Beside trying to not break his desk in two, first he received that 88 children have gone missing over the past 6 years and a month ago 12 more went missing. Now Yujito Nai, his Jinchuriki, went missing and got in a fight with the Akatsuki. He prayed nothing bad happened. His brother B is still in the village safe and sound. The Raikage didn't believe in urban legends and he felt a little afraid. His old man, who was the Sandaime Raikage, once told him about the urban legend named Hachishaku-sama. She was known to be the scariest yokai and woman in the elemental nations. And she was infamous for killing children. He just hoped that she wasn't real and prayed that she wasn't responsible for the child kidnappings in Kumo. He pressed his intercom. Mabui, he spoke. Yes, Raikage-sama, spoke Mabui, his assistant. Send Derry here to my office, I have an assignment for him, he said, seeing her reply yes Raikage-sama. An hour later. You've called Raikage-sama? Derry replied. Yes, I want you to send some spies out to Kiri, Iwa, Suna and Konoha. I want to know if any of their village children went missing, he said, giving the man a folder for information regarding this S-ranked mission. On it Raikage-sama, he said, walking out. If this keeps up about Hachishaku-sama, I demand a Kage summit about the situation, cause if the Akatsuki ain't the problem then she could be, were his thoughts. Aim? You can't be serious. Kakuzu and Haiden were killed at this Hachishaku-sama's hands. Spoke Pain, narrowing his Rinnegan at Zetsu, who nodded. Yes, and she took the Nibi Jinchuriki with her white. Zetsu spoke. What could she want with the Nibi? Spoke Konan, who looked shocked at how both Kakuzu and Haiden were killed so easily. We don't know, but she warned you that if you cross her path, she will bring hell upon us, her wraith will know no bounds, said Black Zetsu, seeing Pain scowl and Konan have a look of worry on her face. Zetsu, I want you to inform the rest of the members, pull them out of their current mission, and I want them reported back here, spoke Pain with no emotion, seeing the plant man nod, vanishing. What are we going to do? Nagato, crossing her path is too dangerous, it will lead to our death, spoke Konan. We will obtain peace and justice once everyone returns. We will continue our goal in capturing the Jinchuriki and remove their biju sealed within them. The only biju we have so far is the Yonbi. We need the Sanbi. The rest, right now the QB, Gobi and Nibi are missing. I have a hunch that Hachishaku-sama is responsible for their disappearance and is hiding them. We must get them one way or the other, Pain spoke, looking impassive, while Konan looked away. She didn't like this idea. She did not want to cross paths against a urban legend that can bring upon great vengeance and furious anger. If they ever face Hachishaku-sama, Konan would have no choice but to leave the Akatsuki for the safety of her life. If only she could talk Nagato out of this. Fire Daimyo's castle. The Fire Daimyo was waiting for Tsunade to come to his palace. She will arrive in 30 minutes, sighing softly as he walked to his office, fanning himself with his fan, opening the door to get a few documents to tell Tsunade about the child missing reports. Holding the stack of papers in his hands, he turned around only to widen his eyes, seeing a few explosive tags appear out of a genjutsu in his office, and they glowed and sparked as his life flashed before his eyes. The entire daimyo's office exploded with him in it. Many maidens and samurai screamed, calling out to their daimyo. The daimyo been killed. Code red. I repeat, code red. Said the daimyo's aide. Code red. Lock down the whole capital. Search for the killer who did this. Yelled a samurai commander. Down in the Holy Monk Academy and Dojo. Hiko, who saw the explosion, grinned as she still kept her disguise as a maiden. She walked inside and began her massacre on the priests and monks. Hey. Stop her. She's a killer. Screamed a monk who got stabbed in the neck by Hiko's scissors. Stop the woman. Yelled a priestess who felt her kidneys impaled by 2 scissors as she fell limp on the ground dead. Hiko flared her Yakai chakra, locking the whole academy up. I sense demonic chakra in this woman. She's a demon. Said a monk holding his traditional sword, rushing forward at her, only to get his torso cut in half by Hiko's sickle she summoned. Hiko dispelled the genjutsu on her appearance, revealing she looked 16 years old, wearing a beige trench coat and surgical procedure mask. She turned her gaze on a terrified priestess who looked at her in fear as Tiko walked forward to her clipping her scissors. "Please don't kill me. Spare me. I have a husband and children. Please." The priestess pleaded, backing into a wall, seeing Tiko in front on her. "Spare you? I have a question for you and I want you to be very honest, if so I will let you go," spoke Tiko in her demonic hollowed voice. "What is it?" said the priestess, who looked frightened. "Am I pretty?" Tiko spoke, removing her surgical mask, revealing her face that looked completely normal. The priestess nodded. "Even like this?" Tiko asked as she spoke, Kai revealing her mouth had a genjutsu around it, showing she had a ear-to-ear slit mouth filled with demonic fangs and a long grostic tongue. The priestess could only look in horror and shock, hiding her disgust from looking at Tiko's mouth. She flinched as she nodded fearfully. Tiko obviously could tell that was a lie, but let it slide. Hold still, she grabbed the priestess's mouth, forcing it open. "What are you doing?" she spoke with fear. "I'm making you resemble like me. You will be given a nice ear-to-ear smile," she spoke sadistically as the woman screamed in agony, feeling the scissors slit her mouth open real wide. The priestess screamed, feeling more blood pour out of her ear-to-ear slit mouth as she looked at Tiko Uzumaki, who was grinning her own ear-to-ear smile. "I wonder will your husband think you're pretty now?" spoke Tiko, leaving the broken woman alone, who laid there crying her eyes out and how she was given a slit mouth. Tiko continued her bloody massacre, butchering many priests, priestesses and monks as each tries to confront her, but all they received from her was death. She even went far to kill any young students who lived in the dojo and academy. The academy and dojo was set to blazes on fire. Jiriku and 10 samurai barged into the dojo. Jiriku hoped he wasn't too late to save any of his friends and students at the dojo. He recently just returned from his mission. He just now heard that the Fire Lord Daimyo had been assassinated in a deathly explosion in his office. He rushed in, looking in complete horror at the massacre in the dojo. He told any samurai to search for survivors. They did as told. He just couldn't believe it. Who could have done this? Who would kill all of these young students? Even the elderly monks and priestesses didn't survive. He kept walking, but stopped when he heard a woman cry. He opened the door, seeing a weeping priestess. "Are you okay?" he asked, walking slowly to her. "Please help me, it hurts," the weeping priestess sobbed, hiding her face. "Don't worry, I'm coming to get you out of here," he spoke, coming to her side, unaware of her deathly smile. Once he walked forward, grabbing her hand, she poofed in smoke, catching him off guard. It was until he realized that this was a trap. He turned around only to feel a sharp pain slit his throat as he clutched, falling on his knees, looking up at his killer. He saw Tiko. Tiko grinned as she shoved her scissors all the way down his throat. Widening his eyes, he choked on blood, his own blood, as she pulled her scissors out of his throat, watching him drop dead. "The oldest trick in the book," she spoke, vanishing since she was now finished with her job and mission. Elsewhere in Fire Country, Tsunade could only look in horror. She just arrived here, hearing how Fire Country was now on lockdown. After the assassination of the Fire Daimyo, she felt a very large headache come to her. She wondered who could have done this. She needed to head to the palace and find out what happened. But Jiraiya and company. Jiraiya, the Jonins and their squads with Anko and Iruka were on their own mission to look for Naruto. They were trying to track him, but they wished they knew where, though it seemed like Hachishaku-sama didn't want Naruto found, and she was doing a good job of doing that. Though Jiraiya was worried about Naruto, worried that the blonde brat would hate him, yet Naruto had every right to be angry at him for lying to him and not being there for him when he needed him the most. Jiraiya could only pray that Naruto would find it in his heart to forgive him and wants to make amends for his mistakes. He prayed he wasn't too late. He replayed Hachishaku-sama's words in his memory. "Now you calling him your godson? After all those years of loneliness he went through? What gives you the right to even call him your godson when you neglected your duties to look after him on your students' behalf?" spoke Hachishaku-sama in the memory. Jiraiya could only grit his teeth and close his eyes, clenching his fists, hating to admit she was right. If he died, he knew he would have to face Minato and Kushina for not taking care of their son like he was supposed to. "Please, Naruto. I hope you can someday forgive me for not being there for you. Once you're free from Hachishaku-sama's clutches, I want to make amends with you," was the Toad Sanin's thoughts. Though Jiraiya wasn't the only one worried about Naruto, Kakashi, Hinata, Shikamaru, Choji, Iruka and anyone else who were friends to Naruto were all worried. Seeing it was night, the group formed a campsite as Jiraiya sat there thinking about Naruto, as he also thought about Hachishaku-sama and why she was pregnant. The Toad Sage didn't want to even think perverted thoughts if his godson and Hachishaku-sama doing sexual relations. He looked away as he summoned Pa and Ma. "Jiraiya boy, didn't we tell you that we don't want no part in helping you get Naruto boy from Hachishaku-sama's hands?" spoke Pa angrily, with Ma scowling at him. "Look, I need your help with something. It involves Hachishaku-sama. She's pregnant. I saw it with my own eyes," he said to the two elderly toads as their eyes widened like saucers. She's pregnant, replied Ma in shock with Pa sweating in fear. Please, I need your guidance on this information. How can a yokai get pregnant? Jiraiya asked, seeing Pa frown holding his cane. Well, here's what we know so far. It seems Hachishaku-sama has a sexual interest. For some reason she felt the need for sexual urges. She's done something like this to a young boy who went by A-kun. Unfortunately, many eons ago in the Sage of the Six Paths era, Hachishaku-sama once existed as a human before and lived in a sacred village, training young boys to become men by having sex with them, was Pa's explanation as Jiraiya blushed, keeping his serious expression. And because of this many have forgotten about her, and she disappeared and she was never seen again, Pa spoke, seeing Jiraiya frown a little. But how does this explain her pregnancy? Jiraiya asked. We're getting to that part, said Ma, frowning. Once she finds a boy she likes and is very affectionate to the said boy of her choice, she wants to mate with him. She needed a mate to breed more of what she is, a yokai, finished Pa, seeing Jiraiya look in shock as he put two and two together as he spoke. Well, wait a minute, are you saying what I think you're saying? Jiraiya said out loud, seeing the two toads look at each other then back to him. I think for that very reason Hachishaku-sama has become very interested in Naruto boy and she will not let anyone take him away from her. She has formed a bond with Naruto and are no doubt mating or breeding. I also believe the QB's chakra might have something to do with this. Because the demon fox is made of yokai chakra, and that could be another thing. If her and Naruto boy made sexual intercourse, imagine what their child could be like, spoke Pa, seeing Jiraiya look amazed at this information. A child mixed with yokai chakra, namikaze and Uzumaki genes, Jiraiya said, looking shocked at this information. So we're talking about a human yokai hybrid, he thought. Please, Jiraiya boy, leave Naruto alone. If you take him away from Hachishaku-sama, all you and Konoha will do is enrage Hachishaku-sama, Ma said, seeing him look away, sighing. I can't do that, I have to save him from her. I have to make things right for Naruto, Jiraiya said, standing up, seeing the toads shake their heads. It's too late for that, Naruto will probably never forgive you. You had 13 years to be by Minato's tadpole. But for what? Just to chase after Orochimaru and go peep at women? What makes you think Naruto will forgive you or anyone else who wronged him? Perhaps Naruto would be better off with Hachishaku-sama than you and Konoha. Were Pa's last words as he and his wife poofed in smoke, leaving the toad sage to rethink what they just said. So this part ends here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, so quickly like this video for second part of this series. And comment down below your thoughts about this series. And now it's time for me to go, bye.